traditionally when you're doing this kind of missional work and reaching people and working with their spirituality, you often just try to form groups and get people into a group, and then you start with one group and you keep that group going. You try to gather people into another group and keep that group going. And when you've got 3 groups going, then you try to start a church. I think that there's a fundamental problem with that, because if you start with doing church, then you end with doing church. If you make doing church your focus, then your work is doing church. And doing church is not about individuals and the quality of their relational engagement with themselves, the quality of their relational engagement with others, or the quality of their relational engagement with God. And that's the fundamental problem. So if you start with doing church, you end up with doing church. Your success is based on whether you can start a church and successfully keep a church going. And we know exactly what doing church looks like. You can go into any number of different churches and you'll see that they're all doing the same thing. They're just doing it in different flavors and varieties. So there's cosmetic differences between them, between how people preach and how people do worship and what's expected in small groups and how you organize your Sunday service. But it runs on the same basic script and you end up doing the same thing. I recognize that that's a significant problem. So if that's the fundamental problem, then I think it's more important that we start from the ground up and we start with what our values are and focus on enabling individuals to cultivate a spirituality that's around that value for intimacy with God, rather than starting with a value for doing church and expecting people to fit into that and get their spirituality out of that.